What's up, my friends in the film fandom, wherever you may be and however you may be watching? Thank you so much for giving us a little bit of your time. One of my favorite biopics about one of the most interesting people that has ever walked the face of the earth. Controversial, constitutionally right, if nothing else. Yes, he was a smut peddler and proudly admitted it. We're going to be talking about the movie that goes into his life with most of my co-hosts. Jeremy not here tonight. He's in the middle of moving houses and stuff like that, so he's probably going to be missing some time right about now. But we do have the Dowager Countess Lady Cora. What's going on, man?
Hello.
2 nights in a row.
Yeah, I got my shit together. And plus, I gotta be here to kick Tex's ass, make sure he doesn't think he's hot shit anymore. So.
He even dimmed the lights so the bruises you leave on him aren't so visible.
This isn't derailed post show after dark. Just saying,
That might be what we do for the election show. I think once it gets like midnight, because the results probably won't be fully until probably 2 in the morning or something.
He's only going to the dark, so his shirt looks bright, like it's neon. The shirt is so bright he can't have the lights on because the shirt will, out contrast his face.
And of course, the shape of Lone Star Shade, my man Tex. What's up, brother?
To show how wrong you are.
Can I just
this
put a
light
flag?
Is not off.
Can I get a flag sticker and put over your mouth?
I wish I had one.
Sure. As long as it says Tex was right. As long as it says that. But no, this light is off because somebody forgot to change the light bulb, meaning this guy. So we are dealing with the light from under my television to see half of my beautiful face tonight. But
you do know that how many Texas does it take to change a light bulb? Because clearly so many that you can't do it.
Yeah.
It just takes one Texan. They just shoot the light bulb and go on.
I heard a noise outside and I fired off a round just in case, and I happened to hit the light bulb in the ceiling fan. Shit happens. What are you gonna do? But hey, I'm here, so I'm happy. So
as long as you didn't get any broken glass in your glass of whiskey, we're good, right?
What? No. Hey, any good self-respecting Texan just chews through that glass like a man.
I got nothing to that. I got nothing to that. So, you win this one. Broken glass of whiskey.
I'm gonna be clipping that one because it'll be my new text alert. Of course, saying I win that one.
But we are here to talk tonight about figures. Jeremy's not here for one of the '90s movies I love and think it's awesome, but that's all right. I don't need to hear his pontificating about the '90s anyway. We are here to talk about The People versus Larry Flynt. It is a 1996 American biographical drama film directed by Miloš Forman, chronicling the rise of pornographer Larry Flynt and his subsequent clash with religious institutions and the law. It stars Woody Harrelson and Courtney Love as his wife, Althea, and Edward Norton as his attorney, Alan Isaacman. Wow, that's a tongue twister for some reason. The screenplay, written by Scott Alexander and Larry Karaszewski, spans about 35 years of Flynt's life, from his impoverished upbringing in Kentucky to his court battle with Reverend Jerry Falwell, and is based in part on the U.S. Supreme Court case, Hustler Magazine versus Falwell. In addition to being a financial success, The People versus Larry Flynt was acclaimed by critics and garnered Harrelson, Love, Norton, and Forman multiple accolades and award nominations, including Best Actor for Harrelson, Best Director for Forman at the 69th Academy Awards. Forman actually won the Golden Globe for Best Director for the film. The film opened Christmas Day in 1996 in a limited release in 16 theaters, where it was a huge hit before expanding to a wide release in January of 97. The film would eventually gross $20.3 million in the United States and Canada. Internationally, it did better, grossing $23 million for a worldwide total of $43 million against a budget of $35 million. Based on 56 reviews collected by Rotten Tomatoes, the film has an overall approval rating of 88% with an average score of 7.7 out of 10. With a consensus review reading, quote, "The People versus Larry Flynt plays an entertaining tribute to the irascible iconoclast with a well-constructed biopic that openly acknowledges his troublesome flaws." That's pretty fitting, in my opinion. It's for anybody who knows anything about Larry Flynt, his life and his eccentricities, which existed right after the day he died. I thought it was a very fitting biopic, a very fitting pictorial of his life. And I'll go to you first, Tex. You've seen the movie. Give me some quick thoughts on it before we dive into the talk.
Yeah, I mean, in the world of biopics, this is definitely on top of the pile. I mean, this is, if you were to go through what's Woody Harrelson's best role, this definitely is a top 3, top 5, whatever. But this film shows it's kind of a hard one to go through for somebody. Like, they kind of have you siding with somebody that I would say the bulk of the majority of people probably wouldn't side with, as you say, a smut peddler. Some might call him freedom fighter, depending on your point of view. It's a very polarizing story and case, and the film really highlights that with Woody Harrelson, the way that he presents this. And, it makes you question right and wrong. And that's when a film could do that, that's a very fun thing to do. So, it blurs some lines. So I like it. You're muted, Frank.
Sorry,
There you are.
Pouring my drink. I didn't want to make any noise. But I don't know, Lady Cora, how about you as a woman? I don't know exactly what your views on porn are. It's not something that comes up in casual conversation with us. But I mean, as a woman, I'm interested. What was your kind of your thoughts and your ideas listening to them tell this story of this guy who, on one hand, yes, he was a smut peddler and was not really ashamed of it, but on the other hand, was ultimately a constitutionalist and somebody who wanted to live by the First Amendment, which we're all supposed to be using. Was it easy for you to kind of split those two things and kind of view this movie in a objective way?
Well, I'll say this. If a woman of 18 years of age or more is not being sex trafficked or under some type of like indentured servitude to perform sex acts or do porn, I don't fucking care. If men want to look at it, I don't care. If people want to make money off it, I don't care. Because I'll tell you what, not to get all political, but if women these days who use their sex to get jobs, get attention, further themselves, 2 words, OnlyFans, whole new, whatever, then what's wrong with men looking at porn or women acting in porn or having their pictures up? Absolutely nothing wrong with it. I agree with everything about the whole court case, the whole concept that he was fighting for. I like the analogy he had about murders, being photographed, but that's not, illegal, but sex acts are. 100% support it. Just wanted away from children and people to be respectful about it. I had no issue with it. I love true crime and trials, so this was kind of very cool to me. When I first saw this years ago, I'm not a fan of Scientology, but they had a court case as well that changed, a lot of religious institutions' tax systems. So, I mean, there are pivotal cases, and this was a pivotal case for a lot of publishers, I guess is the phrase, distributors of like magazines. But I had no issue with it, and it's colorful. This genre of culture is very colorful. Let's admit it. It's very interesting.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for a good biopic. What's that?
Yeah, but sorry, my headset went wacky. The last thing I'll say is, this was a great story to tell, and I like that they showed you a longer span of time with this person, and from what I read, it's on point with who he was and what happened. So, kudos to the filmmakers.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for a good biopic. I always have been, especially for someone who lives such an interesting life. And Larry Flynt was that guy who lived a very interesting life. I mean, for one, he came from essentially nothing. He was at the beginning of the movie. It shows him and his brother were running moonshine in Kentucky, walking around in the mud with, their old boots and no socks. I mean, that's so many people kind of started from there. But yeah, I mean, I love something that it doesn't have to necessarily be 100% historically accurate. What I want it to be ultimately is I want it to capture the essence of what this person was/is at this point when the movie was made. Larry Flynt was still alive. What he is and the significance that he played in culture, not pop culture with Hustler. I've always found it very interesting that Hustler magazine was not really the primary focus of this movie. They seem to around. I mean, that's kind of where it started the first act. But when you get past the first act, everything is about the court cases. Everything is about the First Amendment stuff. Everything is about the other stuff that he. I mean, yeah, Hustler was his job, but the passion was putting himself out there with protection of the Constitution, saying, "Come get me," and you know, and one of the things that I know that he felt very strongly about, as I've read anyway, they made it a point to focus on that at one point in the movie, where he's saying, he said, I've got the money to fight this battle for you. So they're coming after me. Let them come after me, because I'm doing all this for all of you, even all of you who hate me and want to protest against me. I'm fighting for your right to protest against me and tell me I'm a smut peddler and I don't have a place in the world. I'm fighting for you to say that as well. And I always thought that was it was a great way to really focus on that part of who he was, rather than just the guy who was taking a picture of naked women, putting on a magazine and selling it for money.
And they personalized it. They made him more human, relatable person by talking about his personal life and showing that, you know, how much this relationship mattered to him. And, you know, I respected that part of it too.
Yeah, but let's talk for a minute about Miloš Forman, the director of this film. Not a huge body of work, but he's done a few things that are they themselves are kind of they hold a significant spot in film zeitgeist. He's done One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which is a fantastic movie. Won an Oscar, I believe, for Jack Nicholson. He did Amadeus in 1984. He did Man on the Moon, the Jim Carrey film about Andy Kaufman in 1999, which is a fantastic movie. Yeah. He did the musical Hair back in 1979, which is still kind of a classic. He's done a few TV and a bunch of stuff over in Europe. I mean, not a huge resume here in the United States, but Tex, I mean, you know, just reading those movies, and of course he's done a couple of smaller productions. I mean, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest alone is just another movie that's fantastic.
Oh, you know, that was filmed in Oregon.
Yeah, Tex, what do you think of him as a director? How do you do in this, and compare it maybe to a couple of the other movies that I mentioned?
Well, I mean, the two I would go for on that list, obviously, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. That's an essential watch if you've never seen it, for anybody who's a movie lover. It's one of those films that's just a gem that will forever stand out. But out of all of those, my favorite is Man in the Moon. That, I think, is my favorite Jim Carrey performance. The way, I mean, Andy Kaufman was such a wacky guy, just so far out there, but like he was just a kid, you know. And the way that they showed so many sides with I can't remember the fake persona of Tony, whatever his name was, the fake guy that Andy Kaufman had made up in real life. The way that they played that, Paul Giamatti is also in that movie. I really like Man in the Moon. That one's I don't own that movie, but that's one of those films, like, if I stumble across it, I will always find myself watching it. It's just a tremendous watch. And funny enough, I believe Courtney Love is in this film and that one as well. So, I mean, there's a relationship there. So, you know, I guess they like working together.
Yeah, I hate Courtney Love. Anyway.
I do too. I think she's a horrible person, but obviously they like each other. So whatever.
But I don't know, Cora, how about you? I mean, I don't know how many of those movies you've seen. I haven't seen Amadeus for a long time, but I remember when it came out when I was a kid in 1984. It was one of these huge things. Man on the Moon, again, one of the great movies of the 90s. And One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, I actually just watched it a year or so ago just for shits and giggles, and I was like, Jesus, this movie was a different kind of filmmaking. I mean, of Miloš Forman's works, just the stuff that I've mentioned, what do you think of him as a director?
Well, I haven't seen Man on the Moon. It looks really sad and depressing to me, so I didn't watch it on purpose. Amadeus, I saw and liked it. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, it's a good movie, and anybody who is a criminal defendant and thinks they want to claim mental insanity should watch this, because a mental hospital is way worse than prison. But anyways, I digress. I like his style. I've only seen these 3 movies, but none of them are, I would say, poorly directed. So I would say, even though he has a small dance card, he's got good moves. So,
yeah, I don't know how familiar you are with Andy Kaufman, but Man on the Moon is one you should absolutely see.
It was, I think, the voice. I saw the trailer, and he's like, "I'll talk like this," and I have a weird thing about. There's something about the voice.
That was the character that he wrote. I mean, when he did the did you ever watch Taxi, the old TV show of the 70s?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, so you know who Andy Kaufman is. That was a persona that he ended up taking on and kind of became his everything. He was a very
like Gomer Pyle. The guy who played Gomer Pyle. He used that terrible accent.
He was a very methody kind of guy. Andy Kaufman was, from what I read.
The way that Jim Carrey plays Andy Kaufman in the Saturday Night Live skit, where he's just standing there doing nothing, and then for the song from Mighty Mouse or whatever, but when it comes to "Here I Come to Save the Day," like how animated Jim Carrey is in that one scene alone is worth watching that whole movie for. It's tremendous.
Jim Carrey
even in the sad parts,
was an amazing actor.
Like once he's sick and you see him going through the treatments and stuff. I mean, obviously Jim Carrey is a physical actor, and he protrudes very well the emotions. It's a good movie to watch. I mean, it's not a happy movie at times, but I would recommend it.
Let's be honest, some of the best movies aren't happy movies.
Yeah.
So no doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt.
That's my thought.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like I said, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is a must watch.
Yeah.
Man on the Moon, I think, is also a must watch. Amadeus, like I said, I haven't seen it since I was kind of young, but I remember when it came out, it was huge. I remember bits and pieces of it. It's one that I've been wanting to sit and watch again just because it's 100 years old like I am, so I kind of want to catch up a little bit of stuff that came out. But yeah, I mean, Miloš Forman, for his rather limited American film slate, dude, he's really had a couple of home runs. I mean, just some really, really good shit. And then Hair, which is like one of the classic musicals of all time.
Is that the one that the recent Broadway stuff and the John Travolta thing was based on?
That was Hairspray.
Oh, my mistake.
That was a John Waters Broadway thing that got made into a couple of different movies. One back in the I want to say late 80s, early 90s with Ricky Lake, and then the newer one that came out 15 or 17 years ago. It's been a while, but it was kind of in the same vein. It was just a really outlandish kind of like examining hippie culture and stuff like that. But it was a fantastic movie. But let's take a minute and talk about the cast. And boy, I mean, just loaded with absolute bangers, this movie from start to finish. Woody Harrelson, at the time, really on a come up. His career was really starting to hit a great stride. But man, he had come a long way from being the dumb little bartender on Cheers to even before he was on Cheers, as I recall, he did Goldie Hawn, a football movie where he played a high school football player with young Wesley Snipes called Wildcats, which is kind of a fun 80s watch. But I mean, just these two alone are worth the price of admission. And then you factor in some other guys like James Cromwell, who, while he's kind of a bit of a wacko in real life, when he plays these uptight guys, he's played the president in 3 or 4 movies. But I mean, he is just so great on screen. Not to mention Woody Harrelson's brother in this is also fantastic as well. I'll go to you first, Cora. I mean, the cast of the movie, there were so many great performances. Who stood out to you?
I would say Woody Harrelson, particularly, not just because he's a lead, but because he really embodied the real Larry Flynt so well. I first experienced him in Doc Hollywood. He played like a B-roll character, like a Michael J. Fox movie, cute movie. And I thought he was fantastic. And then, I've seen him over the years and loved him on Will and Grace. He really just did a fantastic job making you see what Larry Flynt was like. And it could have easily gone horribly with a different actor who didn't really embrace it well, but he did so well with it. And I can't imagine, sometimes we spar about who could be, who've done the role or who missed out on it. I don't think anybody else could have done as good a job as he did. So he stood out to me. I love Ed Norton. Courtney Love, I don't know much about her, but besides her personal life, and I've seen her in a couple things.
Killed Kurt Cobain, that's all you need to know.
She may not have pulled the trigger, but she was responsible. We all know.
She didn't pull the trigger, but she probably loaded the gun. But that's just my suspicion. It is what it is.
But I don't know anybody else really in this movie. I mean, you got the guy from White Knights, Vincent Schiavelli.
Yeah.
I think he was in White Nights. I could be wrong. I'm mixing some people up, I think, but
he was in a bunch of movies in the 80s and 90s. He's been one of the. He
was a creepy guy in movies. James Cromwell. I mean, he's notable. So I think they had a very random cast that it just happened to work really well. So, yeah.
I don't know. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say they did a good job with it, and I would say nobody stood out as a bad apple here, and they meshed well.
Yeah, Tex, how about you? Again, just loaded with all kinds of talent from all kinds of different areas. Who stood out to you the most?
I don't have the gentleman's name because I didn't have time to get it, but the man that plays Jerry Falwell, I thought he did tremendous in this film. I grew up with grandparents that watched the televangelists on a regular basis, so I mean, from the Kenneth Copelands to all of them, I've seen all of these guys all my life, and this guy is so believable. You could throw him in right now. If you send me $1,000 right now, God's going to bless you. Blah blah blah. He perfect. I mean, there's nothing this guy did not nail about the role of who Jerry Falwell was. I mean, he was one of the television, televangelists that was scamming old ladies out of their Social Security checks whenever they had, 2 nickels to rub together. And this guy just killed it in this role. I mean, seeing him go back and forth.
Richard Paul.
Okay. Yeah. He, just the way that he plays him off, and he's so smug because, he's the good, godly guy going against the pornographer, the sinner over there, the whatever. I love how he plays it off. And it's just, the dichotomy of those two back and forth really makes it feel.
And then he makes a killing off of it.
Oh yeah. 100%. Oh yeah. No, those, I mean, TVN and all of these, from Jimmy Swaggart to Copeland to, I mean, there's 100, Creflo Dollar. There's a bunch of these televangelist guys that, that make tons of money off of this stuff.
Have you seen the movie about televangelists with Steve Martin in it? Fucking fantastic. I don't think
so. What's the name of it?
He has a silver jacket, the sequin jacket on the front, and it is it's the inside. It's all fictional. And it literally shows the behind the scenes of a traveling, like fake evangelist using people for money and fake healing people with actors and stuff. It's really good.
It's like
these televangelist guys, I'll tell you a quick funny story. Whenever the first Harry Potter films were coming out, what was that? Like 2000, whatever, early 2000s.
Yeah, 2003, 4 maybe.
Leap of Faith.
I was at
Leap of Faith. Thank you.
I was at my grandmother's house, and she was a Pentecostal preacher, so she just did nothing but watch religious television and Andy Griffith. Pretty much all she watched. So, I mean, God bless her. I mean, she's gone to a better place now. But one of these I was over at her house one day, and these televangelists were going off about how evil Harry Potter was, and blah blah blah, and everything else. And for X amount of dollars, they would send people information about how bad it was. So she did it and actually gave me a pamphlet of all of the evil stuff within Harry Potter.
But there's a lot of people in Christianity who think anything magic is satanic. So there's a lot.
It was looking back on it, it was funny, but it's one of those. But yeah, the Jerry Falwell in this film was great. I thought he was, he was the perfect pearl clutching, bless your heart kind of Christian type. So I thought he killed it.
Yeah, for me, I mean, the first thing I have to admit is the on-screen chemistry between Woody Harrelson and Ed Norton. It's like this, because this is with the exception of his marriage to Althea, like this is the relationship that carries this movie all the way through. Because like I said, I mean, the first act is really all about him being, the smut peddler, the porn guy. But then as it turns into something else, as it turns into the stuff about the legal drama of it all, these two are really front and center for the entire movie, and they play off of each other so well. I mean, it's like this scene, like after they've been shot. I mean, you can already Edward Norton. I love the scene because you can see his exhaustion. He's been shot. I mean, he started out a nobody lawyer who really wanted to take a chance and maybe boost his career with this crazy guy, with the First Amendment. But he's like that, right then in this scene, his look on his face is like, God, what the hell have I got myself into? I mean, this guy's got me out here. I mean, trying to defend the pornographer, he's got me shot. It's like, is this really worth it anymore? But the chemistry between those two, the way they carry scenes together, the way they act against each other is so damn good. And as much as I absolutely hate to say it because I hate Courtney Love, she's been in a couple of things that were really damn good, and she was really good in them. I didn't like a lot of people said she was good in Sons of Anarchy. She was in like 2 or 3 episodes of the show. She's not very meaningful.
She wasn't there long. I didn't think.
Yeah, she's basically like Jax's kid's teacher. I mean, she doesn't really play a big part, but I mean, she's been in a couple of movies now where maybe it's just because she's playing herself. She's playing a methed out. Hey, whatever. So it's probably not a stretch. She's basically playing Courtney Love, but the performances have been very, very good, and she really does stand out in this movie. She's the person you feel sorry for this whole movie. It's like you spend a little bit of time wanting to understand the Isaac Asimov character, the lawyer, trying to understand what his motivation is to do all this, trying to decide whether you love or hate the Larry Flynt character. If you don't know anything about Larry Flynt, the only exposure you ever had to him was
I don't know how you could be someone our age and not know about him because he's such a cultural icon.
Yeah.
Well, I mean but for the last 20 or so years of his life, because he only died 2-3 years ago.
I know, but it's very iconic.
Yeah,
the shit he went
but
through.
for the last 20 years of his life, he wasn't really in the public eye, except for when he ran for governor of California against Arnie. That recall election, he was one of 500 people that ran for governor.
Yeah,
I think the biggest problem that, as far as him being known, Larry Flynt was always not talking political wise, but for the pornography that he did, he was always looked at as like a second-rate kind of Hugh Hefner. He was like the nasty Hugh Hefner, there was Playboy that was the little more glamorous, a little more clean, where Hustler was anything goes. So it was 2 different routes. So he kind of got outshaded with, I mean, hell, what was that TV show that Hugh Hefner did? The Girls Next Door or whatever that was.
I don't know.
I mean, so
that reality show he did.
It was a reality show based on Playboy and Hef and all his bunnies and stuff. Larry Flynt never had that. Obviously, he's in a wheelchair. I mean, that's going to be a real interesting reality show. Oh, he's in the chair. Okay, that's it. But he kind of got outshined a little bit, I think.
One of my favorite quotes, and a friend of mine said he had said this. I've never been able to actually source this, but he apparently said, "Anybody can live in a penthouse. Anybody can be a playboy. But it takes a real motherfucker to be a hustler." And I was just like, "That's kind of badass." It's like I want to believe that he said that. Like, there's a quote that Elvis apparently said. He's like, "They're all just girls, so I turn them into women." And I was just like, "Damn, you got to be a certain kind of person to say some shit like that." Elvis can say that. No other man on the planet can ever get away with saying that. I was like, but I mean, I can say it jokingly, ironically, but it doesn't hit the same way coming from me as it did coming from Elvis Presley. But I mean, he was that kind of guy. He'd be like, because I was trying to explain to my girlfriend as we were watching this the other night, I was just like, the big difference between him and Hefner is Hefner was all about the female form as art. It was this very existential.
And also he was serious
whereas Larry Flynt was just like, take a picture of her pussy. And
Hefner did try to cultivate an actual, he had good writers. He purposely put good writing that was interesting. It wasn't just all about the pictures. He was trying to put a well-rounded.
And nobody read those articles, by the way. We didn't care. We didn't need them.
I will have you know, I read several of them.
I read some of them.
Believe it or not, my ex-wife actually bought me a year subscription to Playboy when we were still married. It's like I had bought the baseball edition. I forget what year it was. This was like 99 or 2000 or something like that. And they came out with a baseball prediction edition or whatever. I was like, I'm going to buy it because I just want to see what they say. And it came out January, and I'm like, good God, the World Series was 6 weeks ago. I'm like, you're already coming out with the next year's baseball predictions.
Mm-hmm.
So I bought it, and I was flipping through it. She's like, do you want Playboy? And I was like, I don't really care. I was like, I just bought it because it's baseball stuff. I'm like, whatever. I was like, you can laugh at the pictures, all these fake bitches all you want. And she was like, whatever. She grabs the fucking little paper thing out of the middle of it and bought me a subscription to Playboy for a year. I was like, whatever, I got it. I never reacted to that because I was like, I never read it anyway. But yeah, I mean. But yeah, you can't knock this cast off. It's even got McFly. It's even got McFly.
Crispin Glover,
Crispin Glover in it, man.
I love Crispin Glover.
Him and his weird lazy eye that kept closing right in the middle of the scenes. I don't know if that was supposed to be intentional or what, but it was awesome.
Crispin Glover's dance of Friday the 13th, I believe it's part 4, is immortalized. I mean, if you haven't seen the most like I'm having a stroke dance, just look up his dance in Friday the 13th. It is the most white guy thing you've ever seen in your life. It's horrible. It's pretty bad.
But I mean, but let's ask ourselves this question now: was this an accurate portrayal of Larry Flynt? I mean, obviously none of us knew the man personally, but I mean, we've read plenty about him, and he's been on TV. I mean, I saw him get interviewed on CNN several times, later on in his life, talking about not just First Amendment stuff, but just kind of like his life in general. I think maybe it was probably as close as you could really get in film form. I mean, I don't know, Cora, what do you think? I mean, do you even want to know what the guy was really like? I mean, again, I don't know how into porn you are.
From what I'm not into it, but I did remember when he was running for governor and people started talking about him. That's when I found out who he was, and I learned about some of the stuff. And from what I know, it was pretty accurate. Definitely not a blatant fictionalization of his life. I don't know. I would say it was probably better than other biopics of certain people, which is sure total bullshit. So, it could have been a lot worse. I'll say that. Most of them are bullshit. Yeah.
I don't know. Tex, what do you think? I mean, I never actually bought a Hustler magazine. I had friends that had them and I'd flip through them, but it was never one that I really wanted. But I don't know. Do you think this was a fair portrayal of who he was?
Well, I never paid for a Hustler magazine, but I stole many of my old man's whenever I was a kid. Run out in the woods and look at naked pictures. That was kind of a thing we did back in the day that this generation will never know because the internet has ruined everybody. But yeah, I mean, considering they had Larry Flynt on set as the judge, like I said, I mean, I'm not his biographer. I don't know, stint for stint, but I'd venture to say it's pretty close. And obviously there's a Hollywood shine to it. They, I mean, if you take 1% of a story, you can say based on a true story. But yeah, I mean, there's the man right there himself. But odds are with as big as he was about representing, he probably got the real story in there, I would like to say.
Yeah, I again, not having ever met Larry Flynt, I heard him on TV in different interviews over the years, and I would imagine that. Look, I feel like Miloš Forman, when he made this movie, he was like, I don't want to make anything glorified and stupid. I don't want to make a movie that's based on his life. I want to tell these real stories of his life. Now, granted, there's a lot of stuff he left out. He was actually married 2 or 3 times before he married Althea, and
I think she was his 4th wife.
Yeah, so, like 3rd or 4th. So yeah, I mean, they skip over a few things.
He's not Erica Kane by any means, but
For the sake of narration, I kind of get why they skipped a few things, but because let's face it, the most important aspects of his life was what he did and how it influenced what he did in the beginning with the clubs and the magazine and all that, and how it led into what he would. Well, I think he's mostly known for by a lot of people, and that's the First Amendment stuff, the constitutional stuff. They're really the most important thing he did, for sure. Yeah, it really is kind of odd to have, and this isn't even a character we're talking about, like a real life person. So it's like you really do want to hate the sin, but not the sinner kind of thing. So it's like, you don't like that he's a smut peddler. You don't like that he's making this magazine. You can feel like it's exploiting women, blah, blah, blah. And there's an argument to be made, sure. But also you can't deny the fact that the First Amendment stuff and what really became his passion after that. I mean, he really was kind of everybody was kind of on his side to a point. They're like, yeah, I don't like it, what he does, but it's like he is sticking up for the Constitution, and that's a good thing. And I think, as I recall, I forget exactly what the makeup of the Supreme Court was at the time, but I think that was a mostly conservative court for that big case that they portray at the end of the movie against Falwell. And I think that was a mostly conservative court that came back with a unanimous decision in his favor. That the freedom of speech was more important than worrying about you putting naked women on camera and people being upset about it. So that I think that says a lot about at the end of the day, we all kind of know what's important. And we all kind of come together on that one fact. We might because I feel like essentially we all want to get to the same place where the difference of opinion is what road we take. I think it's generally how it works. And we ended up in the same place at the end of the day. That was kind of like how I felt about it at the end. I don't know. Tex, am I wrong? Am I reading this wrong? What do you think?
No, I think you're right on. There's a reason why the First Amendment is supported by the Second, because your First Amendment right can't be taken away by anybody. Hell, they passed a bill yesterday that harshes on that First Amendment, which is wrong. Whether it's smut, nudity, hate speech, it's all free speech. You don't have to like it. You don't have to listen to it. But I have the right to say whatever I damn well please, and you bet your ass I will.
Within a range of limits. Within a range of limits.
There's no.
There actually are. There actually are constitutionally, if it's libel or if it's defamatory. Short of
walking into a movie theater and yelling fire, yeah, that's a problem. But if I'm not doing something like that, I have the right to say and do whatever I damn well please.
Generally
and that's what this film and the story represents. You know, he was making fun of a religious figure in a political cartoon that they were doing in the newspapers, literally doing the same thing. But Mr. Pearl Clutcher, Mr. Sunday Morning, he got upset about it. Now, as Cora said, he made a lot of money being upset about it.
Remember, what Falwell got mad about was not the fact that he was putting naked women.
No, it was about
it was about the ad where he
said his first. It was a cartoon. Yeah,
he was being mocked for doing something quite disgusting.
It was the ad, not a cartoon. Yeah, it was the ad where he talks about having sex with his mom in an outhouse. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's. I don't know exactly how it was worded back then, the 70s, when this all went down, but it's now I think covered with satire. I don't know.
Political satire sounds right.
I don't know if the law existed or if it was worded in that way back in the late 70s when all this shit went down. I don't know exactly how it was worded, but I mean nowadays it's all considered satire.
The point is, he had a right to do it. He had a right to say it. He wasn't saying something that cost Jerry Falwell any money. He wasn't liable for anything. He didn't hurt his business. He couldn't be sued for money. He was literally using the free speech that he had in a funny way.
Right.
I mean, how many times have we ripped on and made fun of each other? Could you imagine
because he printed it.
Go ahead.
But because he printed it in a publication, and then it becomes defamatory. Right. So, yeah. But I agree, though. He was. If you could look at many of the very important, unforgettable Supreme Court cases or even state cases that have affected precedent all over the country, they're unsung heroes. Some minor case, some rancher or some school teacher or whatever, I mean, is the reason that it went that far, and we all have that protection or that correction of a protection that wasn't given to us. So if Larry Flynt was the guy who helped us get better free speech protection, then fucking cool. Like, more power to him.
Like I said, the fight for free speech never goes away. It only gets worse. Look at the world that we live in now, political correctness. Oh, you can't say this. Oh, these are the proper terms that you have to use, even though we're going to change them next week. It's not gotten any better. So to look back at this film that, takes place of an event even earlier in history, it really shows where we are now when you look at through a filter of time. And it to me, it shows you why free speech is so fucking important, because you have the right to say what you want. Now, you're responsible for your words, but you have the right to say whatever you damn well please, short of, like I said, screaming fire in a movie theater or whatever. But this is what this story represents, and this is why this film, it wasn't about the pornography. Yeah, I mean, y'all know me. I love tits. Tits and murder are why I go to the fucking movie. That's how you get me. But
sorry.
You know,
Can't help but laugh.
even those in this film were not the point. It was the story of, you know, it's, as I always say, I always reserve the right to say fuck you. That's one of my favorite sayings. So, you know what? I have that right to say it. Right? What are you going to
do? And this case will probably be a precedent mentioned in future cases with all the stuff going on that you mentioned. So it's ever prevalent.
As I'm saying, I don't want to get, you know, way far off into the weeds political, but this whole anti-Semitism bill shit that's going down right now, they're harshing certain words that they are very much impressing on your First Amendment on a lot of things that I'm not okay with. And we all have the right to say what we feel. I don't care what side you're on. Even if you disagree with me, you still have the right to say that, and I can't tell you not to. I can argue with you.
I can't tell you not to say it. This case might be a reference to that. Be referenced in that case.
It very well could. It very well could. It's kind of oddly timing how that ruling came down yesterday, and that we're reviewing this today, and how it falls in line. But I thought that was kind of.
It's definitely a historic case that will never be forgotten anytime soon.
Oh, 100%.
One of the things it does is it will make people not even try to bring a case in court because there's already legal precedent.
Right.
So now somebody could say, I want to sue this person for putting this in their magazine. They'll be like, well, in Larry Flynt versus Falwell, this was the result. And if that got ruled this way by the Supreme Court, then we're not going to win like this in any other court. So you may as well not bother. So that kind of sets the standard that if you can't somehow beat that standard, you stand no chance at all in any court of law because there's already a big time legal precedent.
Unless it's some type of discrepancy where it's like some state constitutional thing that goes up against federal stuff, and then it becomes like a battle of which one has, more. I don't. The point is, I think this case is quite relevant, and I think Larry Flynt is not a bad guy. He was he was just making a living. Some people didn't like it. Tough luck, whatever. Get over it.
Like I said, there's two aspects. There's the sin and there's the sinner. Like I know a lot of people that were sinners. The sin I didn't like, but the sinners were people that I was close to, people that I cared about. So you have to kind of separate those two things. So Larry Flynt, the person, sure, what he did for a living was make a nudie magazine, and you can call it distasteful, whatever. But what else he ended up doing cannot be ignored. You gotta take the entire body of the person when you take that person and do it, especially now that he's passed away. You can't just look at one thing or two things about his life and judge him on that. You got to look at the totality of who this person was, what they did, the impact that they made. And if you're not doing that, then you're not being very objective. And I try to be as objective as I can. So yeah, don't buy Hustler magazine, but appreciate the fact that he stood up for your right to say that you think he's a smut peddler.
I'll use me as an example here. I deliver alcohol for a living. Okay. Am I bad for putting alcohol in a store or a restaurant that somebody might come and drink and do something bad later on? No, that's not a sin to me. If you don't like drinking, don't fucking buy it. Go to hell. I don't give a shit. So him producing porn, the porn is going to be made one way or another. He just made the money off of it. These girls, I'm now assuming, all like Cora said, at the beginning of this, how it was all consensual and nobody was coerced. There's no foul, no problem. I mean, hell, OnlyFans is $1 billion industry or something. Nonsense. So,
nobody. You put your hoo-ha on the internet. You're doing it all on your own. You
have to try to avoid pornography online. Just accidentally typing in the wrong words on Google, and you're a place you didn't even mean to go, and you don't even know how you got there.
How YouTube has like all these like black holes where there's all sorts of raunchy stuff, but content creators like Frank, could do one wrong thing and they get a strike, but there's all this shit all over YouTube. It's ridiculous.
We can be adults. Strip clubs have existed for hundreds or however long. Yeah. What's the world's oldest profession? Sex work. It's just one of those things. So, the only people getting upset by the pornography are the ones that are probably in secret looking at it too, but they don't want anybody to know that they
Well,
do.
isn't that the case?
But,
The thing that some people are most it's
Right.
like they're
Well,
projecting. So yeah.
it's a, you know, like I come from a Christian family, so I can speak on this. I live in the Bible Belt. I know, you know, sex is like this. Oh, don't do it till you're married, then you can blah blah blah. You know, I get why, and there is such things as like sex addictions, and anything in overabundance is too much. I agree, but demonizing sex, something that we all do, never made sense to me. And if somebody wants to take a picture of it and put it on the internet or a magazine,
Willingly,
hey,
by the way,
you don't
and
have
get
to
paid
buy
for
it
it.
willingly, right? It's not like you just, you know, you have to have it. It's an option, you know.
Mhm.
So I don't have a problem with porn. You know, now there is a dark side to it that we know about now, but
Yeah.
you know what? If you willingly walk into it, I'm not gonna cry. You know, no harm, no foul. So
Yep.
all good.
Well said.
But moving on to a little bit of trivia now. There was some pretty good ones on this movie. First, despite being portrayed in an Oscar-nominated movie, Larry Flynt was refused an invitation to the 1997 Academy Awards. So,
What?
Woody Harrelson brought Flynt to the award show as his plus one.
That's fantastic. I love it. I'm here for it.
So
I
wait,
think it's funny because like that movie, The Room, the Disaster Artist that came out about Tommy Wiseau making that terrible movie, The Room, which everybody says is artistic, but I think it's awful. It's like he got invited to the award ceremony because the movie was about him, and while it has not been like Me Too or anything, he's got a checkered past, let's just say. So but it's like you're gonna let him in, but not Larry Flynt, who.
That's what I was going to say.
Well, you can say it checkered past, but it never tried to hide it. Never got convicted of anything,
and did everything legally. By the way, did it legally?
Was Harvey Weinstein invited to this party? Because I think that guy did something
for a long time.
For a
long time.
For a lot when he was doing all that.
That's just what I'm saying.
You know,
the hypocrisy is strong with this one.
Well, let's be honest. The Academy is not exactly respectable. Just saying, Will Smith, you know.
Hollywood's not respectable. It's an industry full of liars who people get paid to pretend to be somebody else. It's what it is.
I forget who it was that said it, but there was an actor or actress, I don't remember who, was quoted as saying, "Don't believe me, I lie for a living."
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Literally. Actors are empty vessels that get paid to fill themselves with a different character. One day you're Batman, and the next day you're the milkman, whatever. It's just one of those things.
You're say just this about sex workers and actors. They earn their money. Let's be real fucking honest.
Yes.
Okay. They're showing their shit and they're doing stuff with people for money that actors don't even have to do, and they're the ones who are shit on.
You guys ever listening to George Carlin stand up?
No, I watched a lot of it, but I don't remember any of the jokes specifically.
He said something one time in a stand-up. I don't think I remember watching this for the first time until after he had passed away, unfortunately. But he's talking about he doesn't understand why prostitution is illegal. He says selling is legal, fucking is legal. Why isn't selling fucking legal? I'm like, and at first I laughed about it. Then after I got done watching, I was like, he kind of has a point. It's like, well, whatever.
It pretty much is nowadays with once again the OnlyFans stuff, which. I am all for legalizing prostitution. I never understood why it was either. That makes no sense to me. I mean, if you're going to do it, whatever, who gives a shit? Right? I mean, what the hell?
Another piece of trivia. According to Alan Isaacman, who revealed this in a documentary about the film, the closing argument that Edward Norton made in front of the Supreme Court was taken verbatim from his closing arguments at the Supreme Court.
Really?
I remember this. Yep.
Mm-hmm. I thought that
was one of the best scenes of a movie full of amazing scenes. I thought that was the perfect ending.
I like that authenticness to it because it really brings it home that this is something real that happened that affected a lot of things in our country for a long time. So,
well, I mean, Edward Norton has always been he's a very high-strung guy. I mean, hell, that's the reason why he lost the gig as the Incredible Hulk for Marvel. But
he lost it
very good.
He wanted certain controls over the movie that they weren't going to give Kevin Feige.
Right. Well, he's a very well. I mean, go back from American History X, this film.
That's a fantastic movie.
Fight Club.
Life-changing movie. Yeah.
You know, his filmography, he is a very good actor. And he pours himself into whatever role he is. And he just sells the fuck out of it.
He did in this one for sure.
I didn't realize it was a verbatim speech, but I mean, he does well.
Well, how could they have written it any better? And why not quote from it directly? Like, it won the case.
The homework was already done for him.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And how do you ask somebody to repeat something that was emotionally charged? It's like, you ever see that movie Miracle, about the Miracle on Ice with Kurt Russell?
Yeah, a long time ago.
They were talking about how they did Michael's commentary over when he says, "Do you believe in miracles?" He was just like, we didn't know how to, because he actually came back in, Al Michaels did, and re-recorded everything that he had said over the course of that broadcast for the movie. But the directors had said, when we got to that point where he was gonna say that iconic line, he was like, how do we get him to say it with the same emotion, but with the same inflection? He's like, how do we do this and make it sound authentic? So what they ended up doing was I don't know exactly how they did it, some computers, some timing, some synthesizer stuff. As it gets closer and closer to that moment, they actually cut in the actual audio of that call.
I love it.
So when he says, "Do you believe in miracles?" it's actually the call from the game and not him rereading the line. So you get the emotion of that. And I kind of got that as I was listening to him read. There was this a very calm, put together sense of what he was doing. And A, Larry Flynt stepped back there and watched like he should have done. And B, it's one of those moments where there has to be a certain amount of control, a certain amount of the delivery matters. And if you get the delivery wrong, because so many courtroom scenes in movies, they're so dramatic. I'm going
to say three words. My cousin Vinny. Just saying.
But the reality is a lot of legal arguments are just like this. I mean, if you even go back and watch like the closing arguments of like the O.J. Simpson trial, they weren't at all like they are, like they're portrayed in TVs and movies where guys are being all emotional and directing and getting all handsy and stuff. They're just saying they're talking. They're just giving you their boiled down version of the case, and that's what he was doing. Is he was just having an honest, frank conversation with the Supreme Court justices. And I thought that was a killer way to end the movie. But let's see, talking about again, I don't want to beef her up too much, but talking about Courtney Love. Let's see if I can find a decent picture.
They had good chemistry. You can't deny that. I mean, they had really good chemistry.
They did have good chemistry. Courtney Love was actually arrested several times in Mississippi.
I heard about that.
During filming for wearing her outrageous and revealing costumes in public. While filming a particular scene in jail, one of the female officers working mistook Love for being a criminal on her way from booking and handcuffed her.
Wow.
They could just
I
would have been
Courtney Love's a fucking mess.
But let's be honest.
I'm not surprised.
Of all the people out there who can play a really fucked up chick, she's the one you call, right?
I guess. I mean,
she's definitely on the list. I mean, credit where it's due. Yeah. So.
I mean, you're not calling Anne Hathaway or Helen Hunt or, Meg Ryan for this kind of shit. Like, no, like maybe Jodie Foster, but that's even a stretch. So, yeah.
Jodie Foster would have killed it. I guarantee she'd have killed it.
Probably so.
Yeah, but she too ugly to play that role. I mean, that's not, and I'm not saying Courtney Love is attractive because I don't believe that either. But
are you kidding? Jodie Foster is beautiful.
She's starting to age. Young Jodie Foster, Silence of the Lambs.
Have you seen young Jodie Foster? She was
yes, I've seen young Jodie Foster.
She has a perfectly symmetrical face, fantastic skin.
Yeah, I don't mean young from like
features.
The Disney stuff she did back in the 70s. I mean like 90s Jodie Foster from Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was an attractive
woman. Never did it for me. She's
aging a bit. She's aging kind of like Jamie Lee Curtis, another person you love dearly, Tex, I know. She's aging kind of like Jamie Lee Curtis.
Say that? Why do you say that name in my presence, Frank? Well, you know how I feel about it.
Aren't you so happy she survived and Jason didn't?
I say that name in your presence for the same reason that I put A1 sauce on everything, just to piss you off.
Oh, God.
I did this right anyway, just to spite you.
Jamie Lee Curtis and A1 sauce. Do you want me to quit the show? Is it what you're aiming for? Or are
you
pushing
will
me
not
away from
quit the show.
I'm going to put a bottle of A1 sauce right there next to my bottle of A1.
Okay? There's already a whiny bitch on the show, and that's me.
I'm gonna have to protest and just like hang out in the comments and just boo as you do your show.
Oh boy.
I forgot what I was going to say now, damn it. But moving on to another piece of trivia. Let's see. I don't know if he's wearing it in this. Maybe it kind of is. The golden vagina necklace that Woody Harrelson wears in one of the courtroom scenes is actually a real necklace that belonged to Larry Flynt.
Cool.
Really?
I don't know if
you can quite
see it on him right there, but I was watching this yesterday. I was like, where the hell did he get a Purple Heart? They don't just hand those things out.
I wondered that. I wondered that. I'm like, that's a little bit much for me. Putting a Purple Heart on, that one did bother me a little bit, but you know.
But, I mean, I get it for protest purposes and whatnot. I mean,
I don't know. That's a very special designation that is only given to certain people. But
I know.
I don't know.
When a tyrannical government, goes to war.
Oh boy, Mr. Texas,
here we go. Hey, I know you're a happy little sheep on the farm, and you've got your blinders on.
You have your words, and I have my reality. Throw it at me. I got a wall the size of Texas right in front of your face.
I thought your people didn't like walls. I thought y'all weren't for those. That's funny how that happened.
At least when we go to build a wall, they actually build it. Just saying.
Trump would have built.
God, I can't wait for the election show.
But
I cannot wait for the election show.
We are not the only ones who had absolutely no confidence in Courtney Love. The insurance fees for Courtney Love on this film were so high that the studio would not pay them. Woody Harrelson, Oliver Stone, Michael Houseman, Miloš Forman, and Courtney Love herself paid her insurance fees out of their own money.
Yeah. Is it because they were worried she was going to get high and run over somebody in a golf cart or something? What were they worried about?
That's not the only thing that insurance is for on actors, though.
What year was this? For example,
when Paul Walker died.
96, I think. 96, 97.
Okay. See, what year did Cobain die? That was
I don't know, 92, 93.
92,
yeah, so it wasn't too well. That's what I'm saying. It wasn't too far after he was gone that she was in this. Okay, I was just trying to get a timeline together.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, she was always a nut. I mean,
well, you got to remember though.
I don't know.
Insurance for actors is not just whether if they run somebody over in a golf cart or injure somebody on set. It's insurance for really anything. One of the examples is when Paul Walker died. They were still filming to happen for that Fast and Furious movie. So they probably filed a claim for insurance to help recoup the cost of the additional costs that were incurred by having to do extra CGI or different reshoots to rearrange shooting schedules and stuff like that, because that kind of thing costs money. Because delaying a film can cost something like, I think it's $10,000 or $15,000 a day to not do anything. I mean, because you got to, depending on how long the delay is, you got to pay everybody to stick around. You got to pay for hotels. You got to do all that. So it costs money every day, even if you're not shooting.
One word. Yeah, there would have been a shooting if they'd been paying everybody.
That's a pretty extreme example, but yes, I mean it is actually it's a pretty bold one, yes. But yeah, so it's not just covering them for when they're driving or something like that. It's anything that could cost the production additional money. So it's probably they were probably legitimately worried that she was going to OD at some point during production. Wow. So if that were to happen, that would help them cover the costs of delaying, recasting, reshooting all of her scenes with somebody else, that kind of thing. But we talked about what could have been, who could have been Larry Flynt. It turns out that Bill Murray was one of the choices to play Larry Flynt, as well as Tom Hanks.
Really?
No and no. No.
I couldn't see Tom Hanks.
Yeah,
I could see Bill Murray doing it, not Tom Hanks though.
Bob Saget maybe, but can you imagine Tom Hanks talking about and then doing other movies as the feel-good 90s guy and You've Got Mail after this? No. Just so much no.
And actually, the way I read this here is that the producers were actually set on casting Bill Murray as Larry Flynt, but according to Miloš Forman, Murray never returned their phone calls. which is so typical Bill Murray.
You do know what he's doing now, right? He's growing pot in Oregon. Like this guy's,
whatever.
Yeah.
He's right. He's 150 years old.
He's
let him
chill as fuck. Yeah.
I was actually watching something about Ghostbusters a few weeks ago, and they said even going back to the first Ghostbusters movie, it was it was either Ivan Reitman or guess who played Egon. Why am I drawing a blank in the name all of a sudden?
I don't know.
Reitman or somebody was saying that even for the first Ghostbusters, they weren't sure that Bill Murray was going to show up for filming until he showed up. They were on the set for day one of filming, and they all just kind of like, "Is Bill going to show?" I mean, we don't even know at this point.
That's funny.
Yeah, he's kind of always done his own thing. He's just Bill Murray. You know, he's like I mean, we all have that one family member that you tell them, okay, we're having dinner at 7 when you're really having it like 2 hours later, so because they're going to be late. He's that kind of person. It's
yeah.
Well
said, Tex.
And it probably doesn't help that he knows how big of a star that he is, and he knows he can get away with it too. I mean, because fuck, it's Bill Murray. What are you gonna do?
But I don't know if you caught it or not, Tex. There's a certain amount of irony in this film. One of the scenes involves Hustler offering $1 million in a reward for bringing John F. Kennedy's killers to justice. Charles Harrelson, the father of Woody and Brett Harrelson, has long been suspected by conspiracy theorists of involvement in the assassination. There was a certain irony. I didn't catch it until I watched it this time. I was like, wait a minute, there is something kind of funny about that.
Well, they did, show Jackie O's, so maybe they owed her a little something nice,
Maybe. But I mean, he even said, he's just kind of like, we're just trying to get circulation up.
It's only fitting that, Woody Harrelson's old man, went after the president, let's say, and, his son goes after him as well in films. And if you've ever spent any time actually listening to Woody Harrelson talk, the man's he's based. I'll say that. He's not completely, Hollywoodized and whatever. So,
he doesn't own a cell phone. He's like really humble.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, he's the
shit.
He's proud to say he's a fellow Texan. So he's on our team. So you can't have him.
Yeah. In a relatively unnoticeable cameo, the character of Doug, one of Larry Flynt's bodyguards in the movie, was actually played by a bodyguard of Larry Flynt at the time this movie was released.
And his brother was in it. Someone's brother played their brother in the movie. I think it was
Woody Harrelson's brother played his brother.
His brother plays his brother.
Yeah. That's right.
They look just alike. I mean, I don't know. I mean, whenever I first saw this film, I didn't realize they were actually kin. And then obviously doing research, oh shit, you're actually blood brothers. Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Fun casting. So
that's cool.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about casting. Those who could have been Althea, Patricia Arquette, Elizabeth Berkley, Mira Sorvino, and Cameron Diaz were all considered for the role of Althea.
Mira Sorvino is the only one that could have been, in my opinion.
I could see Patricia Arquette. I could see her pulling it off. She's definitely a better actress than Courtney Love is.
I think she has a better acting ability, but I think the more important roles were Edward Norton and
by far.
And I don't think it mattered who the girl was, to be real honest.
I don't know. Courtney Love's role, Althea, she's a linchpin in this story. I mean, she's there just as much as Larry is in this movie. So
I don't think it's
nail that role,
but yeah.
I mean, even after she's dead, her presence is still felt on this film. Maybe
the last scene of the movie is
right. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
So it's, she comes around pretty early, like maybe 10, 15 minutes into the film, and she's there for the rest of it. Mm-hmm. So, listen, I'm not a Courtney Love fan, but maybe she was just method acting and she was just stayed high and naked all the time because that's what she did every other day. I don't really know. Maybe it is.
Oh boy.
She was meth in
Hey,
acting.
yeah, I'm not saying it's. You can't tell me it's not a possibility that she didn't even realize she was doing a movie. She was just living. It could have been.
She was meth in acting.
Send your hate mail to text.
What's that? Hate mail? Do you really think I read it? Oh, you're muted, Corey. Or something, I don't know.
See, I would read it. Send me some hate mail. I'll read it. I'll read it on camera.
Hey, if you do it, make sure and hashtag the harsh truth on the bottom of it. That's all I ask. That's all that matters. So it's all good.
Now, the one more piece of trivia: the lawyer Alan Isaacman, played by Edward Norton, was actually a composite of a few lawyers that represented Flint over the years, and he is not the lawyer who was shot alongside Flint in Georgia. That lawyer was actually Gene Reeves Jr., who, as of April of 2012, was a senior magistrate judge in Gwinnett County at the same courthouse, 75 Langley Drive in Lawrenceville, Georgia, outside which he and Flint were both shot.
Yeah, that's a fun way to live, getting shot.
Now, Alan Isaacman is actually a lawyer. He was one of Flint's lawyers, one of many he had. And he actually, I think, is still practicing.
I don't know.
I know he has. He's had, I've looked him up before just out of shits and giggles. He's had a couple of big name. Yeah. Alan Isaacman. That's the wrong one. I think it's somebody else. Yeah, the American lawyer, primary focus for serving as attorney for publisher Larry Flynt. His past clients also include Geraldo Rivera, Kathy Griffin, Rock Hudson, and CBS. He lives in Beverly Hills. His son, David, is one of the people profiled in Love on the Spectrum, an American TV series.
Did you swallow some light bulb?
What?
Do what?
Did you swallow some light bulb in your whiskey there just now? I heard a terrible sound out of you, Tex.
No.
That's why
I would not dare waste. I would not dare spit out or waste good whiskey. I'm a better man than that. I do not believe in alcohol abuse and wasting good whiskey. No. Goodness gracious.
No alcohol
abuse.
But that seems like a good place to start wrapping some things up. That's all the trivia I had. I actually doubled up on one of them accidentally because apparently my copy and paste skills were not what they usually are as I was putting this one together. But I'll get your guys' final thoughts on this one now. I'll go to you first, Lady Cora. Your final thoughts on 1995's The People versus Larry Flynt.
A great movie that is worth watching, and don't let the subject matter make you not watch it, because if I watch it and respect it, anybody can.
Tex, how about you? Give us your final thoughts on The People versus Larry Flynt.
Yeah, this is a good one. This is, like I said, it's on the top of the biopic list easily, without question. Great acting, Woody Harrelson, everything else that we talked about. And you think you're coming for a story about, hustler and everything else, and you end up having a discussion about First Amendment rights and what's really important in life. And I like the complexity of that. So if you haven't seen it, definitely watch it for sure.
Yeah, I was watching this and I was thinking to myself, if I didn't already know that this guy actually existed, I would say, who the hell wrote this character? He's so outlandish. He's so flamboyant. He's so beyond anything else. But having growing up in the one of those kids that would sneak the occasional Playboy from one of my uncles or something like that. This name was already out there, and being in high school when this movie came out and going to see it, because as a teenager I'm like, it's about a pornographer. I'm gonna go there and see boobs. And watching the movie, I'm like, holy shit, there's like a whole different thing here that's way more interesting than just seeing some girls' boobs. But it's like I can see boobs whenever, but it's like I'm being just run over by this crazy story about this crazy guy right now, and then to know that it was all true. I mean, it really is an example of why people who have the ability, financially mostly, to go ahead and trade punches with the system should do it whenever possible. Because that's how precedent is set. It's like, who knows if we would be able to sit here and talk this shit about movies that we often do if we didn't have Larry Flynt, 30 or 40 years ago, fighting it out all the way up to the Supreme Court saying we could. I mean, like I said, he's set the precedents for all free speech. He made it very clear to everybody that what free speech really is. It's not just a couple of words on the Constitution. It's what it all means. And that's kind of what the whole point of this movie is. So it's like I said, the first act of the movie, you get kind of get into the fact that he started this nudie magazine. It's kind of fun and cool and weird. And then when you get into the real meat and potatoes of the story from the second act on, it's like, wait a minute, this is way cooler than what I thought. It's way deeper. So don't judge this particular magazine by its cover of nudie girls. Actually open it up and look at it. Watch this movie. Yeah, there's some nudity in it. If it's not your thing, whatever. There might be a censored version of it out there somewhere. If there is.
Surprisingly, a low amount of nudity that you would think for this movie. Oddly enough.
Well, they're focused on the case. It's not so much about. Yeah.
And it's like I said, it's the same thing with Boogie Nights. Boogie Nights is about a porn star, but it's not porn. It's about this. It's loosely based on the crazy life of this guy John Holmes, who just happened to be a porn star and a drug addict, and had some crazy things happen in his life. Wonderland is a great movie as well, based on the whole Wonderland killing. But yeah, it's not porn. It's about this crazy guy who just happened to make his money in porn. But it was really about something way deeper, way more impactful, way more culturally significant than just a magazine named Hustler. That's really a small part of who this guy really was. So yeah, I highly suggest checking it out. It was on Tubi up till a couple of days ago. Now it's on Prime for like $5. You can rent it. It's been out long enough. You can probably find it at Walmart or something for $5 or $10. I think it's like $11 or $12 to buy on Amazon. It's 100% worth it. I think it's Woody Harrelson's acting is fantastic. I even like Courtney Love performance, even though I hate her. Everybody about this movie is great. The cinematography is even good. The editing is great. Miloš Forman does a great job at storytelling in this movie. There is not one bad thing I can really say about this movie. I've only seen it about 24 times, including last night. So as many times as I've watched this movie, I can't pick out a scene or a performance that doesn't work very, very well. It really is one of the better put together movies that I've ever seen. And it's an amazing story to make it even better. So definitely go check it out. It's on Amazon Prime. It's been on and off Tubi for the last couple of months. So you may even be able to watch it free there if you can catch it. But yeah, definitely go check it out. I think it's well worth your time, especially if you're a bit of a historian. There's a lot of it about the Constitution, the law, and stuff like that, especially later in the movie. I think you'll get a kick out of it. But we'll go ahead and wrap things up there. I want to thank my amazing co-host. Jeremy will hopefully be able to come back on soon. Like I said, he's got a lot going on right now between moving into a new house and all that stuff. So he will be here when he can make it. We look forward to having him here always. And thanks to my other co-hosts for being so awesome. The Dowager Countess Lady Cora, where can the folks at home find you, ma'am?
Allergic to the internet, social media, but I'm still here on this channel. What's so funny?
Oh, I was reading Dr. Nick in the comments.
Oh, sorry. I wasn't looking.
No. Get back to my show.
Yes, when we wrap up here, definitely go over check out. Go ahead and check out Dr. Nick. Alex,
you mean the people who are rudely going live when you are? Oh wait, we don't care about that anymore. I'm being sarcastic. Sarcastic.
I'm calling for civil war here. They're invading on our out of the whole week. They had to pick this time slot. I call shenanigans, and I'm calling for a blood feud.
I need a bad touch sheet there because this time slot was set long before you even were in the scene. Before I brought you into the show.
Doesn't matter.
This is pretext.
I am calling for a blood feud that would make the Hatfield McCoys look like a mild skirmish.
No.
Oh, good.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, Dr. Nick got it right. The South shall rise again. That's right, buddy. Even the Canadians know what's up. So, see, Cora, you're wrong here. I got news for you.
I have a response, but it's not worth wasting on you.
Oh, see, you think that hurts me, but I have no feelings. So.
Yawn.
He says the South will rise again, but will he be so happy about that once we invade Montreal?
I'll tell you how the South is going to rise again. like a balloon full of helium going into the atmosphere, and at some point it will just pop because there's nothing holding it down because it has no merit. There you go.
Oh, y'all just wait till November. Cora's going to be screaming at me for 3 hours that night. It's
And I'm going to make Biden wear. I'm going to make Tex wear a Biden hat. So it's just that.
Oh, goodness gracious. Either way, yeah.
Great time.
I mean,
Frank, how are you?
If you want to see, well, I was going to wrap up real quick. Yeah, I mean, Frank already plugged them, but go. Alex and the Garbage Man, they're live right now. I'm going to go over there as soon as we're done here. So go check them out. They're cool. So it's all good. So.
Yeah, I'll be heading over there for a few minutes before I start to head to bed. But yes, my man Tex, the Shapes of Lone Star State. Where can the folks at home find you, my friend?
Here, assuming work doesn't need me. Now, I will, obviously, with my recommend schedule, I don't have any certain film to recommend this time, but I've heard there's a new film out, Abigail. It's from Universal. It's out in theaters. I've heard. Apparently, it's in the Universal Monsters world. I didn't realize that it was, but it's a vampire flick. So I'm gonna try to go see it if I can. But it's got Melissa Barrera from the last couple Scream movies, and yeah, it looks pretty good. So I'm gonna go try to check that out.
Yeah, as for me, you can find me here. I think next Tuesday. I got to talk to Dr. Nick. I know this is one he was wanting to get into, but it depends. I don't know yet. We're either going to be doing something. We may do the Fall Guy on Tuesday. I don't know. I'm going to try to go see it this weekend, even though I already don't want. I don't want to like it.
Yeah,
because I grew up watching the original TV show. I don't want to like it, but I'm going to have to give it a shot because like I said, I'm objective. I want to be fair. I want to give it a chance. And so I might go see that. So either we're going to try that on Tuesday or Critters. I don't know. I got to talk to Dr. Nick. He wanted to get on the Critters review. So I figured out exactly what we're going to do. But we will do that here on Tuesday, and then of course on Thursday for whatever we're going to be talking about. So we will see you guys whenever we show up again. It'll be Tuesday at some point. I want to thank my amazing co-host for being here as always. Thanks to all of you for coming and checking us out. Go check out. Go check out Alex and the Garbage Man over on YouTube right now. They are doing their thing. We will see you guys later. Till then, adios.
Bye.
We had a little bit of boobs and almost murder. So I think the ratio was kind of down.
Movies have less sex and nudity.
Yeah. You're making me sad, Cora. You're making me sad.
Hallelujah.
I actually had the picture of Althea drowned in the bathtub totally naked, but I was like, yeah, YouTube is never going to let me get away with that. They're never going to let that fly.
Yeah, we couldn't get away with that one.
Oh, well. Maybe next time.